Oh my God, you guys. Come in. Sit down and shut the door.
Gina Hung might have gotten Diddy in even more trouble, and she might even have gotten herself jammed up with some charges. Y'all sit down. We gotta talk about this. Listen, if you guys don't know, Gina Hun did two things today. Well, three. One, she exposed herself to be the biggest dum-dum in history. Second of all, she outed herself as victim number 3, okay? And on top of that, she literally wrote an impassioned letter to the judge saying her man, her man, her man. However, we all know that Gina is already on the Khloe Kardashian time. She will clock in and put on that clown nose and dance for a couple of dollars. We hope it's a couple dollars. She might have been dancing just because. But the thing is, legal insiders are saying Gina is playing a dangerous game and she doesn't realize that Sean Diddy Combs just walked her down the path that could have her sitting in jail next to him. Because at the end of the day,
present,
Diddy is a desperate
and no
man
longer
and he
has
really
a voice
doesn't
who
care.
will pursue
Okay, now
justice
listen,
for her
this is what my
accusation.
sources are telling me. Let me
As
know
of
what
the
you
taken
think.
against
Okay,
Diddy,
now here's
no
the
expansion
thing.
of the
People are saying that
investigation,
Gina is playing
no
a dangerous
isolation
game
orders,
because she could get
no
charged
equipment
with Section 18
access,
USC
no
1512
suspension of
witness
attorney
tampering.
communication.
They said that she could actually get charged with not only witness tampering but making false statements to the government and obstruction of justice. And baby, these crimes, if the government can prove it, carry heavy penalties. Witness tampering, depending on the severity, up to 20 years, up to 10 years, or up to 5 years for attempting to persuade a witness to lie, withhold testimony, or not appear. Get this. If feds believe that Gina was bribed, manipulated, or knowingly submitted false statements or testimony, the letter, she could face up to 10 years, especially if it was part of a coordinated effort to obstruct justice. Oh, it's more false statements to the government. If Gina's letter contains knowingly false information submitted to the court, prosecutors could charge her with making a false statement in an official matter that is up to 5 years in prison plus fines. This includes written statements like letters to the judge, especially if called as part of a bail motion, and also obstruction of justice. This covers a broader act of interfering with the due administration of justice, including lying in official proceedings, influencing witnesses, and attempting to corrupt a judicial process that carries up to 10 years in jail. So baby, so what's the bottom line, right? If the feds believe that Gina lied in her letter to the court, was financially influenced to submit it, and or failed to cooperate with a subpoenaed appearance, then she could absolutely be indicted for witness tampering, obstruction, or false statements and face up to 5 to 10 years in prison depending on the charge. And remember, and this is a big thing that people need to remember, and this is what Diddy might not have counted on, the bigger risk is for Diddy. If they can prove that he was the source of pressure or payment, then he gets hit with obstruction, witness tampering, and maybe new charges, especially if Gina gets immunity to testify against him. You guys, I do not think that Diddy thought that letter was going to turn out the way it did. Now, let's actually sink down deeper into it because it needs to be talked about. Now, you guys need to remember Gina was listed as victim number 3, but she refused to testify. She was the one named. She gave testimony in front of a grand jury. She gave testimony in front of the netizen Tasha K when she outlined his brutality, okay? But she was not called as a witness in the federal case. She refused to testify. She disappeared during key moments. She popped out to do a poll at TMZ when she was supposed to be missing, talking about, I don't think he's a danger, and it's rumored she's been financially supported by Diddy, rent, legal fees, and all that message, all that other stuff, right? Now you remember this happened during the trial. Again, let me break it down. She was one of the main witnesses in the case. They would call her material witness. She was named as a victim, and she was subpoenaed to come in, and suddenly she reappeared with a glowing letter of support. Again, this isn't just a character reference. This is somebody we would say strategic, a strategic piece of evidence designed to directly undermine the prosecution's theory of danger to victims. The problem is Gina was one of the alleged victims. Prosecutors have previously suggested Diddy may have threatened, bribed, or intimidated. So now that she suddenly re-emerged on Diddy's side, it creates a perception of witness tampering, even if it's subtle or unspoken. That's the first thing that Diddy got a problem with, okay? Now people have been saying, yo, Diddy got to her. She disappeared when they needed her and came back when he could help him. And this is witness tampering pure as day. They're even saying if she wasn't paid off. This looks horrible. Again, a woman who ghosted the federal government just pops up with a signed letter for the guy she said not just hurt her, but tried to stomp a beat out of her. And we're supposed to believe this again. Did he don't care? He don't got nothing to lose. But the fact that Gina got walked, well, who knows? She might have did this on her own. She either got walked into this or she knowingly wanted to make a fool of herself with this. Again, this does not look good for Diddy because it's gonna backfire. I know they thought this letter was meant to help, and I think Diddy's desperate now that Trump said he ain't letting him out at all. But if you put it into context, my sources say it confirms what the prosecution had already warned the judge about. that Diddy has power, influence, and financial reach to silence or sway his accusers through fear, money, or manipulation. The feds can easily go up there and be like, see, Judge Aaron, this is exactly
and no
what we
longer
meant.
has
We
a
said he was
voice who will
tampering with
pursue
witnesses.
justice for
Look
her
what happened with
accusation.
victim number 3. And again,
As of the
even
egg
if
and
Diddy
against
can
Diddy,
make the argument
no
that this
expansion
letter
of
is
the
technically
investigation,
legal, it could
no
function as
isolation
proof
orders,
of the main
no
problem.
equipment
The defense is
access,
saying, look,
no
Gina says he's
suspension
not
of
in
attorney
danger. Even though
communication.
Gina said a lot of stuff, ain't nobody coming to hear you sing Otis. But the prosecution can now definitively say, and Your Honor, we just watched them in real time neutralize another victim. That's the danger. Again, some people are saying that the feds can go after Gina, but they got to be careful about it because the way they could get her is she is a material witness. Okay, she was a material witness. Now the material witness, this is again, I don't think Gina saw this coming, and I don't think Diddy. Everybody's talking about, oh my God, I hope they bring state charges up. I do hope they get him on state charges. But baby, by writing this letter, they might actually have Diddy on enough to get federal charges. And now that Trump has signaled he don't care, he wasn't on the winning team. No. Now that Trump has literally said to Diddy that he is on his own, I mean, who's gonna stop? Now again, let's get back to Gina being a material witness under 18 USC Section 3. A material witness is someone whose testimony is essential to the case or unlikely to appear voluntarily. Now, we all know that Gina was not only essential to the case, she was named as one of the victims. And I do honestly believe that if Gina had bridged the gap, I think they would have gotten him on the SMEX trafficking. I really do. But a fool and his dummy are never parted. If both were true, and I believe they are, the court can issue a material witness warrant. Again, that would be to detain or compel testimony, okay? However, being listed as victim number 3 in the indictment, that was already enough. Think about it. The prosecution meant to call Gina and made a case where her testimony was critical, and Gina still refused to appear, disappeared, and otherwise avoided cooperation, okay? Again, Gina was explicitly identified in finance as a victim. She not only was referenced, but she testified before the grand jury. She was expected to testify. She refused to appear and then disappeared. Her lawyer even disappeared. The lawyer Diddy was paying for, and now she suddenly reappeared to write a letter. Baby, this is textbook setup for a material witness issue. Again, she was subpoenaed, her absence weakened their case, and she had material info about the charge, the violence, the coercion, the past abuse. They can, and my sources say they may argue that since she was a material witness who evaded appearance, they could pursue obstruction or witness tampering charges depending on what they actually have proof happened behind the scenes. You guys, this is a strategic problem for Diddy. Even if there is no money trail to Gina or one that they can prove yet, her letter contradicts early accusations, undermines the prosecution, and confirms that what they warned the court about the influence over victim. If they believe Gina was paid, pressure, or coaxed into silence, her reappearance may backfire hard and trigger a reopening of obstruction or tampering investigations with Diddy, or a motion to disregard her letter as tainted, or even a grand jury scrutiny of her and Diddy's financial relations. Again, you guys, this is bad for Diddy, and I can't believe that they even tried to do that. Again, people make legal, and there's also a moral argument people aren't actually paying into, okay? Gina is saying, I don't think he's an issue. Baby, a victim's forgiveness is not erase Diddy's danger to the general society. Nobody cares if you don't care about getting drop-kicked in the face, Gina. Diddy can't be drop-kicking women in the case. Oh well, right. This is not Gina v. Sean Combs. It was America v. Sean Combs. Because what's on trial wasn't just what he did to her, it's what he represents. A system where power and money let men brutalize women and walk away clean. Even if Gina forgave him, you guys, it wouldn't be an argument. We don't legalize abuse just because someone's
and no
learned to
longer
live
has a
with.
voice
Gina's
who will
writing this
pursue
letter isn't
justice
proof
for her
that he's not
accusation.
dangerous. It's proof his reach
As of the egg and
reaches
against Diddy,
further than we thought.
no
And you
expansion
don't
of the
get to drop kick
investigation,
someone in the
no
mouth
isolation orders,
and then have them
no
apologize
equipment
for
access,
bleeding. Gina
no
may be
suspension
okay
of
with it
attorney
now, but what
communication.
message does it send to the next girl? This case was never, and it's no longer about whether Gina feels safe, it's about whether any of us should feel safe in a world where power by silence, where abuse gets phrased as framed as misunderstood love, a modern love story, and where influence becomes immunity. Baby, listen, Gina's a dummy for doing this, but again, I think she's doing it because she wants to do it. And again, people can say Gina's a victim, and I truly do believe that Gina might be the victim. But at a certain point, when the victim sides with the devil, baby, you're the ops and we gotta treat you as such. Listen, let me know what you think in the comments, but my sources are saying that Diddy might have overplayed his hand. He's so desperate to get out of jail. Again, false statements to the government, obstruction of justice, witness tampering. Again, if the feds believe that she lied in her letter, was financially influenced to submit it, and failed to cooperate with the subpoenaed appearance, she could be indicted. She could be facing 5 to 10 years, and they might need to do that as proof. They might need to do that as proof to everybody else that you can't play in the federal government's face, okay? And again, this is a bigger risk for Diddy. If they can prove he was a source of pressure or payment, then he gets hit with obstruction, witness tampering, and maybe even new charges. Even if Gina gets immunity to testify against them, y'all, the plot is thickening. The plot is thick, and it looks like that not being pardoned by Trump got Diddy spiraling and getting sloppy. And baby, we love to see it. Oh, I'm praying the feds bring more charges against them. If not, California, New York, Miami, you know what needs to be done. Anyway, y'all let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to you later.